First Smoke family, the DMs have been answered. Everyone asks, dry cure your product. Hey, I buy ounces or I buy Ace and it dries out, or it's not cured properly, it's not stored properly, or your shit's in a turkey. We have Cvault on today. Unbelievable product. Obviously you can tell behind me, I got towers of Cvaults. I've been buying them for years, whether it was for my head stash, whether it's a trapper and you just want to store your product before it's on to the next move, or whether you're a cultivator and you're worried about touch points, you're worried about controlling your environment, you're worried about all the aspects you do, the entire part of the process up until dry and cure. We go into all that. GrowGeneration.com stores nationwide. Whether you're online or in store, we get you hooked up like family. And that's the same with Drip Hydro. If you want to try a new nutrient company, you're not happy the way your flower's tasting, smelling, looking, performing, try Drip Hydro. You can get Drip at Grow Generation stores nationwide or online. If you go to FSOTD.com, you get hooked up with all our sponsors, and that's the same with Raw rolling papers. We get you linked up directly with Raw, and you can make sure it's Raw authentic. And you already know we get you hooked up with Faven under canopy lighting. So whether you need Grow Generation, Drip Hydro, Faven under canopy lighting, or whether you're just rolling up elements in king size wide raws, you already know we got you covered like family. FSOTD.com gets you hooked up directly with all of our sponsors and gets you the newest discount codes. First Smoke family, let's get into it.
We've had so many people that are like, dude, I put like my favorite weed from 2 years ago in a Cvault with Boveda, and I thought I lost it, just found it in my car, opened it, and it's still as fresh as the day that I packaged it. Some people, they want to use, cardboard paper type packaging because it looks really cool and there's no barrier. It's not protecting your product. So you kind of have to, pick and choose. Like, are you more concerned about the look and feel of it, or more concerned about the quality of product that you're putting out? At the end of the day, cannabis is sold based off weight, right? And moisture is weight. So if you're letting your bud dry out, you're leaving money on the table. Do things that slow down that process. Expand the window of enjoyment. That's what both of Boveda and the Cvault product is all about.
Yeah. And there's very few products that are made to be fixable these days. Most products are made to break so that you have to replace it.
Yeah.
But not ours.
First Smoke family, you can see all these stacked around me. This is something I use in my personal life for my head stash. This is something I use for cultivation. And this is also something I use when I have beautiful flower from other cultivators that I want to preserve the trichomes. I want to preserve the nose, the taste, and I only want it to get better. When it comes into my hands, this is the tool I use to make sure my head stash, what goes out to consumers, what gets smoked, all that, it goes straight to them how I want it to be seen. I even like trimming straight into these. You can put a turkey bag inside of it, or you can just clean it out with alcohol. I mean, this is the product, and that's why I want to introduce Cvault and Boveda today to the podcast. I absolutely love these. Whether this is for my head stash, this size, these are all mine, just so you guys know, and not like these were, I have a whole stack behind me. I use these religiously, whether it's head stash coming down in the garden, whether it's packs that are being brought to me that I want to preserve, or whether it's my head stash of an ounce or two that I want to carry with me. I absolutely love this, bro. Welcome to First Smoke of the Day.
Dude, thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
The grand entrance, bro. Really, because I really love these products, man.
Yeah, thank you.
We used to use glass jars. People were like mason jars. Bro, I've had mason jars where they get stained. You can't get that odor out of them. They almost turn like a tinge yellow.
Yep.
And then you're going to boil them and do all this extra shit to try.
Don't drop it either.
Yeah.
Don't drop it.
Well, and they only get so big.
And the openings, it's like the jar will get big as fuck, and then the opening is small.
And you're shoving top nugs or cutting them down. It's just what it was it's an old solution to a timeless problem.
Right.
And then this is a 2024 solution.
Yes.
And this is absolutely something I use personally. I mean, from this size, I like to store about a QP to up to a half pound in max. I don't like to fill them all the way, but like, tell us about this product. Like, give us some specs on this. I mean, this is something for your head stash. This is something for your trap. And this is also something for when you're having your trimmers trim straight into these. I mean, besides just the videos and the looks, and this is the perfect container for curing.
Correct. So Cvault, I mean, came about, it's a 304 food grade stainless steel container. Came about really from the cigar industry, to be honest with you, because we came out about 13 years ago with the product. And at that time, you know, my dad who started the product, there was humidors for cigars, but there wasn't really anything to keep your weed fresh. So he got in contact with Boveda, and the rest is history. You know, 304 food grade stainless steel. Boveda pack goes in every container. We have a lid holder built into the lid so it doesn't touch your product, even though there's no issue with that. Some people just don't want that. So, you know, we just came up with a better mousetrap.
Yeah. I mean, but so people can see, like, the hinges on these, I mean, they clamp down.
Oh yeah, it's sealed tight, airtight. It's got a gasket on around the lid. So,
dude, a high grade gasket.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then where you can either use Boveda or you don't, but either way, up here, humidity pack storage so it doesn't touch your flower.
Yep.
So whether you need one or not, doesn't matter. I just absolutely love the product, and I mean, presentation's everything.
Yeah.
So besides it being the perfect cure and dry vessel, in my opinion, for that last end result, which means everything. This is where everyone fucks it up. Just to be clear, like, this is where things go from like, wow, look how it looked on the vine, to like, what happened to their shit?
Yeah, it's that post-harvest process that gets overlooked. It does, and that's
where the hearts are broken, bro. Like,
you put all that blood, sweat, and tears in the front side of it, and you do everything right, and then boom, you chop down, and it's like sometimes everything goes out the door, and you forget about it, and that's where you can lose, as you know, a product.
Yeah, and like, I mean, even with trichomes, when you put them in a turkey bag and you push that turkey bag down, I don't care what anyone says, it will never look the same.
Right.
Yeah, that's
smushing it.
So that needs to be, it's gone out the door. Or I swear to God, we would bring these in Cali, Prop 215 days. I would give these to the dispensary or to the shop and be like, here's 1 pound. And I'd be like, I'll just pick them up.
Yeah.
And they can put them in whatever they want.
Yeah.
But like, you get it like this.
Yep. Yeah.
Because the trimmer trimmed right into it. And half the trichomes are literally, it looks like a magnifying glass in here. And it's like an art piece / science presentation.
We have so many customers that polish these up and then sell their product in them. And it's just that extra. Yeah.
And then, I mean, with, keeping things properly humidified in a rigid container like that, I mean, think about at the end of a pound in a turkey bag, there's always shake, and shake. Nobody wants that, keep everything on the butt.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and to be able to put your turkey bag inside one of these and use it as a liner. And now you can see people are using bin liners for even the big bins.
Yeah. The toast.
So why would it be any different? And at the same time, people, listen, I know when you go into Home Depot and you smell those bins, they smell like plastic. Yeah. And for the few of you out there that are using food grade, shout out to you. But that's such a small minority, and we go through tons of facilities. So everyone uses liners so it doesn't touch the bin, but the bin still smells like plastic.
Yeah.
Those things are getting spit out at the cheapest, all bins.
And they're not airtight, so it's not really protecting the product.
Yeah. Even the gasketed ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And the food grade gasketed ones there's not that big of a price difference between Cvault and that.
This is another part, and this is what people need to, this is so nuanced, but when you stack 10 pounds of weed on each other in a big bin, the gravity and the compression that happens, those bottom nugs which are sometimes your best stuff, whatever, because people want to trim the big ones first.
Of course.
So then all the little stuff.
You got 9 pounds on top of
Yes.
Well, and
it. That's
if
a
you
lot of weight.
think about the 50 liter, like our largest container, it will do 5 to 8 pounds.
Yeah.
And we thought about that, because what everybody wanted was a version of this as a 50-gallon drum. That's what everybody wanted. But then we're thinking like, everything at the bottom is going to be totally crushed. So that's why we went wider. It's wide as opposed to tall to mitigate that.
Yeah. I love it too, because with the bigger ones like this that we have on the table, this is my personal one. This is the size I love. I put about 2 pounds of flour in there, max 2.5. But like,
it's our kilo container for Canadian clients.
Yeah.
It's so phenomenal because I can also open the lid. And now I'm getting, instead of opening a little lid for leaving it out for 2-3 hours and then 100 lids, I open that top and in 5 minutes, there's a full air exchange that happened with my flour.
Yep.
I just want people to know too, this is head stash. If you buy an ounce from your guy, or if you have a plant in the backyard, or if you even just are buying eighths, I mean, look at these. You want to about fill it up halfway. It will hold its own humidity a lot of times. If not, there's a product that they sell also called the Boveda pack, and they come in all different sizes, but this is so perfect for some head stash. And then you can see where it just scales up and it goes straight into full production mode. And then there's a size even bigger than this.
And that's where those liners can come into play, is the scale, the commercial grows.
Yeah.
If you don't, you very well can store directly in that at scale. You want to clean it every time afterwards, and that can be a process. So throw a liner in it, boom, you grab the bag up when you're ready to take it out, and you're done.
And some of those facilities at scale, like I have clients where they have a whole sanitation process where they send them out, they sanitize them, sterilize them, and then they bring them back sterilized.
I just love that you can actually get the smell and flavor. It's not going to transfer over.
Right.
Because the better the grower you are, the louder the terps.
Right.
So then to say like, oh, I needed to literally deaden off, clean it, and then be able to restart with every pound that goes in this.
Good luck.
I have yet to find, it's even with turkey bags, you can't do that.
Right.
So then to have a product that I can clean out and then I can alcohol out, I can honestly like disinfect.
Yeah.
And I love this also because I store my flour in a cold room.
Yeah.
For me, perfect is somewhere between 60 and 64.
Yeah.
I'd like to get towards probably usually somewhere ranging from 62 to 64.
Yeah.
This stays cold.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's putting a jacket on something and it kind of like, I love how cold this will stay. I've popped these open in the room and I'm like, this is a science presentation. People shit. And then the reflection on the inside, for all you salesmanship guys, you want to take a video as a trapper and show off some flour. There's nothing like this.
So I call it like the Hall of Mirrors effect, right? So like I have dispensaries that are deli style, and so you go in and you're getting served out of this. And the bud tenders that are good at it, they'll like angle this. They'll have like an overhead light and they'll angle that with the light and it just gleaming.
Yeah.
Shining.
And it's not a trick. What it is you're able to show a 180 degree view of each nug damn near. And then for it to not be bagged up and compressed, now the nug looks like it should.
Yeah.
Like it did on the vine.
You get to see the structure that it was meant to be in,
And that's what every grower wants to do. They want their consumers to experience what they're seeing and consuming right as they chop it down after a cure and all that. And that's really where, Boveda came into play to this kind of whole picture. Was we started in the cigar market 26 years ago. So we've been around a long time. And the cigar makers were having a problem. They would produce their cigars in the Dominican where it's a perfect climate. And so they're smoking them there. It's awesome. They love them. It's like, yep, this is it. But then they ship it to somewhere like Minnesota where it's super dry in the winter and those cigars suck. They're like, how do we capture like this perfect environment of the DR inside of our box? So when a consumer in Minnesota opens it, they have that same experience we do. And that's what we're talking about here. You encapsulate that and trap it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest issue when you ask about Colorado bud is they call it Colorado Crisp.
Colorado Crisp, yeah.
The only way around that is to control your environment. And that's whether it's plants or finished product.
Yeah.
You have to control your environment. And some people are saying, oh, well, I don't like to humidify my flower. You're using too much. You don't want it sticky, but you want it preserved. That's a whole different thing.
It is.
And it's a dialing in process. Every flower is going to be a little different.
And that's what the cure is dialing that in.
Yeah.
You know?
And that doesn't, growing it or not, head stash. Don't you want your head stash optimal or even better than when you got it? Cultivators, under canopy lighting is changing the game. And with that, Faven Under Canopy Lighting. They're one of our premier sponsors, and it's a brand we truly believe in. If you want to check out favenlighting.com, you can get all the answers to what under canopy is and is how it's changing the game. And guess what? You're family. So we hook you up. The code is FSOTD, and you get hooked up with Faven Lighting. They put together a full layout of how you would set your facility or grow room up using their under canopy lighting. Whether you're using CMH, double-ended, fluorescence, LEDs, it doesn't matter. Faven Lighting has you covered. Go to favenlighting.com, use the code FSOTD, get hooked up, and change your grow game. Come on, cultivators.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're in a legal state, right, and you're going to a rec store and you're getting it from the dispo, like, what I would say, like at least 80% of it is way too dry.
Yeah,
like
we've done a lot of testing on the rec market all across the United States, and it's over 80% of what we've tested comes in way too dry.
Yeah.
Well, even when people get it in a jar, this is something that, because we're perfectionists, in my opinion, on the backside. So many of my friends are, that even the jars, you have a seal on it. As soon as you pop that seal or you open that jar, I'd say right off rip, 80 to 90% of jars, there's already air exchange happening that's not protecting that flower.
And we test that. Like we test these containers for our clients all the time to see how well they hold humidity, and it's not great.
And the unfortunate thing is, like some people, they want to use, cardboard paper type packaging because it looks really cool and it's earthy, and well, there's no barrier. It's not protecting your product. And again, that's why these are crucial. And it doesn't matter if you're a consumer at home that, is going through an eighth every week or so, or you're someone that's growing at home and you've got a couple pounds, or you're commercial. I mean, it plays
or that
into
medical patient that's holding on to an ounce for months.
Yeah.
You know, like because they use it as they need it, and that ounce might last them several months. And I mean, by the end of 1 month, you're not smoking the same thing that you were before.
Right.
Well, it's for me to also, as a consumer, say, I want to get the freshest product I can, and then I want to finish it off and smoke through that process, because I know as a grower that there's a 10 to 14 to 20 day window where it's as good as it's possibly going to get. So if I have an ounce or a half ounce or a quarter, whatever it is, and I want to preserve it, and I'm like, hey, it's a little fresh now, I'd rather get it like that and let it cure through its process and then stabilize it right where I want it. Versus getting something and trying to bring it back. But that is possible. And so people just need to know, when you're using humidity packs or when you're curing, it's all about the process. It's all about you figuring out what you like to do to get it optimally to the point where it's like, hey, this is how I'd want to smoke it, or this is how I want people to smoke it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
What are these? Because I've never seen these. This is some new.
Yeah, these are brand new. They're just hitting the market. What was it, last week?
Yeah. A week and a half they've been out.
What is this? This is like head stash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a Cvault twist, which is our on-the-go container. This is perfect. Like what I'll do normally is like I'll have a medium or a large at home, and like if I'm going for a hike or I'm going to a show, I'll take some nugs out of there, put it in my twist, take it to go. Got some fire flower in there right now. It's got the pack holder for the Boveda, goes in the pack. But we just came out, it's part of the cool thing about being with Boveda now is before it was just me and my dad. That was this whole company. And, we had a couple employees throughout the years, but it's just been 3 people is the biggest that team's ever been. And now we have like a solid team where we can come up with ideas like the colored Cvaults, and then we can get them done, as opposed to where it's like, oh, that would be cool, but like we don't have the means, and now we're coming out with cool shit. So.
Yeah. I mean, people have been at, like, before Boveda and Cvault were together, like we were asking like, oh, because I have used Cvault since we met 10 years ago or whatever it was. And I'm like, you should do colored Cvaults. Like they'd be sick. And then you could like brands could do custom colors, have the custom logos. And now it's kind of all coming to life.
Yeah, it's awesome to see.
It's fun. And I think this product is cool and its opportunity is really endless. And like these are all Cvaults here, which is specific for cannabis flower. But there's another line that is newer and a lot of people haven't heard of it. It's the E-Vault. Very similar. You can run through the specs on all of it, but yeah, it's an amazing product.
Well, you think about, a pound of weed, right? Like let's say heyday top market $2,000 a pound, right? A liter of distillate is a lot more expensive than that. And what happens and what's the industry standard for storing bulk concentrate right now? It's glass. It's glass. People are keeping tens of thousands of dollars in glass. And like I run our social, right? So I'll see like, lab managers like posting, for the gram, they'll like have all their borsilicate glass jars stacked up. And I'm like, holy shit. Like
I've also seen them on the floor shattered.
Same. That's why we
had a client that reached out. He's like, I dropped one and it had
$50,000.
Yeah. It was a big one. And we're like, dude, that's a big mistake.
You dropped that. You could have bought your company a lifetime of E-Vaults,
literally.
And like, these things last forever. Like you brought some models that are 10 years old,
old latches.
Yeah.
I was joking with myself when I was loading these up and I was like thinking some of these have to be, I got put onto Cvault. It had to be about between 6 and 7 years. Cause I'm counting back what facility I was at.
Is that how you found them? You were in a facility or?
We were cultivating and I started to look up like where they, they do the agua fresca.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking up what's the largest glass jar you can buy. And I'm looking up 5 and 10 pound glass jars, but all of them, this is where it pisses me off. The lids on them are shitty.
Mm-hmm.
None of they're all cheap plastic, no matter the size glass jar. The bigger you go, the shittier the lid.
Yeah.
And so you went through all this work and the opening's small. So I'm having to feed weed in through it. Then when you try to flip it upside down, you're shaking it. There's just so many problems to it, to be honest, as soon as you scale past one jar, literally.
Yeah.
And so when I was on that hunt of like, what can we use for our best flower? And I'm a maniac about not fucking it up, to be, clear. And so I got put onto these. And when I remember us buying, I think a sample for our first facility. And as soon as we got it, and I was like, oh my God, we can have the trimmers trim right into them.
Yeah.
Then we can weigh everything but just trim into them. Everything gets stored. And then as it sells, we can weigh out what we want. So it literally has 2 touch points damn near by the time the consumer or the shop, Prop 215 days, gets it. And so I just knew as a smoker, like, dude, when you look at the trichome heads and when you zoom in on a nug that hasn't been bagged up, it's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
And then to be able to also layer that with controlling the environment, hey, I want it to be white ash, but I also want it to still be a little sticky to the touch.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that now.
You don't want it to bust to dust, you know, like, and sometimes I've definitely gotten flour where you squeeze it and it
we call it Colorado crumble because it crumbles in your hand.
Somebody the other day said, dude,
but we all know about it,
right? You don't want your flour to bust to dust. And I was like, I logged that. I was like, going to use that one later. Bust to dust.
Sounds like someone who said it at that Grateful Dead show. Don't bust to dust, bro. You're like, good, that lifelong advice.
Yeah, it's
but
true.
I mean, at the end of the day, cannabis is sold based off weight, right? And moisture is weight. So if you're letting your bud dry out, you're leaving money on the table. And that's, I mean, a lot of people I don't think can understand that sometimes, but it's a big deal.
Well, it's the reason your banana's brown. We're working with a form of produce.
Yeah.
Just like, it's some metric in between wine and food and high end this and high end that, but it is degrading.
It is.
And there is a process of like any cultivator I've come across, outliers here and there that want a 9-month cure and shit. But most people, they have a window.
Yes.
And that window closes. And that doesn't matter if it's your head stash, doesn't matter if it's the best crop you've ever smoked in your life. it's slowly dying, just like all humans are organisms, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just, when it's under your control, why not give it your all?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Do things that slow down that process.
Mhm.
Expand the window of enjoyment. And that's what both of Boveda and the Cvault product is all about.
Yeah.
It's not, it's
Could you talk about the gasket a little bit?
Yeah, so that's a food grade silicone gasket. Right now, that's the current gasket that's in all the Cvaults. We're working on a different gasket for the eVault because solvents can react with silicone. So we're working on a Viton gasket for that. Who knows when we'll get that out, but it's coming. But it's the best gasket on the market. And so you can take them out, clean under them, which is especially important with people that are doing distillate, the liquids that get up there. But you can totally take it out, clean it, and they last forever.
Yeah. I mean, if you could submerge this whole thing in alcohol if you want.
Oh, yeah.
For people that want it scrubbed all the way down, disinfected, it's just such a great medium for storage. And all the way from head stash to the guys that want to take that pound that they got at the dispo or the distro or wherever from the homie, and they want to just open up the turkey bag and just let it cure it. Like, yeah, this is perfect for that. And it's also perfect for the guys that are like, I have 100 pounds coming down every 30 days or whatever. And I need the 2.5s to the 5s. And I want to figure out a way where I'm not bagging things up and they're getting manhandled. And just a turkey bag sitting there under compression, I don't care who you are, it is not the same. And I have homies that grow phenomenal, top-notch product. If it didn't hit that turkey bag, it would be better, look better, taste better, smell better, smoke better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about putting the trays into the bags now. Like the only way. You have to. Otherwise, and then, with social media, I mean, people are stoked to post a picture of a squished flower. And if that's your product, you're like, fuck, that's not supposed to look like that.
I can't repost that. I freak out.
Exactly.
I'm like, how do you, anyone who's seen a smashed trichomes and you've seen what trichomes are, where it has that mushroom look.
So cool.
And you're going to just compress that, squeeze them, disintegrate them, compress them.
Break off.
Yes.
They fall off.
Yeah.
And then you lose everything. I mean, that's you got to protect those trichomes.
Yeah. And I have a homie surface area. He does micro shots, Mervin's awesome, bro. But his stuff, it's mind blowing, you're looking at these trikes and it feels like I'm tripping, looking at this shit. It's like, whoa, that's what that looks like. It's insane. But when you see them smashed, it's like, that's sad.
But again, it's that you put in all that work on the front side. Don't forget about that post-harvest process, because that's what's going to make or break your product. And it just gets overlooked.
Well, and if you're buying for THC, let's say you're that person who's out there looking, that also takes a hit when you smash a nug all the way down.
It does.
No matter if you're just in it for a consumer and you're saying, well, I don't care how I give your quality. As soon as you bought that and you supported something that isn't protecting the flower, you're supporting a process of degradation. Of your head stash, of your smoke, or of whatever you're putting out to your people, degrading. I mean, that was the only, I was like, trays. And it comes from this, though.
It's crazy.
This is a mini version of this.
Well, it's crazy how long it took for that to come out in packaging. That I've seen that fairly recently, where it's it's a plastic tray in a bag. This shit, how come that took so long?
Well, and so many people will bring me jars is like, well, I only do jars. And then I'm like, well, what type of jar? Because 95% of them are worse than bags.
Yep.
So I see people spend so much money on these high-end jars, and we've done them where unless you're doing a high seal, and then it's also gets weird where you're like, well, are you sealing it with heat?
Right.
Because is that affecting the flower inside of that jar?
Right.
These are all things people need to think about in preserving their product.
It is. Yeah. No, and we've done hundreds of tests on different packaging, and you'd be mind blown how much of it sucks and doesn't work, and it just gets marketed as it's high-end packaging. It might look really cool, but the performance of it is not there. So you kind of have to pick and choose. Are you more concerned about the look and feel of it, or more concerned about the quality of product that you're putting out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, unfortunately a lot of brands and people decide for the look good and forego the quality, but that in the long run I think hurts that brand.
Well, then they get in touch with us. They're like, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
They're like, can you send me a sample?
Well, it's funny, like
Because you want to make sure before you buy, $1,000 to $2,000
Totally.
worth of Cvaults, because we had like 70 lights or 40 lights. Our first facility was 40 lights plus a veg, right? But 40 in bloom. It was such an awesome fix for that size for us.
Yeah.
And then when we went to 70, it was like, we just need, and then you guys came out with the bigger ones.
Yeah.
First Smoke family, we're a grow generation where we get hooked up with grow supplies, trap supplies, lighting, nutrients, whether you're cloning on a Sunday or whether you're trapping on a Monday. It's growgeneration.com. Stores also nationwide. But if you want to get hooked up, we have a code. It's our family code. It's First Smoke 10. No matter if you're in store or online, you get hooked up like family, just like we are. growgeneration.com, grow stores nationwide. To be able to then just weigh out of those was such a game changer for us, and not having to shake, because you go through the process of thinking, I'm going to go glass and I'm going to do this. And the action of you actually figuring it out and the little nuances of like, oh, fuck, it's getting stuck in here because it's fresh weed. The opening's barely as big enough for my hand.
Yeah.
The jars having to, you're like, giving it a little jackhammer. And you start to realize like all this extra hard work that you thought you were leaning into helping, you're actually hurting.
Yeah.
Right.
And this was one of the first things that I came across personally where I thought, oh, dude, this solves a massive problem for the amount of DMs, guys, that I get on drying and curing because people have an issue with it. And no matter where you live in the world, it's different.
Right.
It's different unique. From one person's house to their next door neighbor's house. Like it's super inconsistent.
Well, and if you're selling product and shipping it, and this is how like the Boveda product, how we got into cannabis was we had people using our cigar tobacco RH, which is higher level than cannabis. They were shipping product from California to New York and it was drying out in the wintertime. So they'd weigh it, it's a pound. By the time it hit New York, it's under a pound. And they're getting in trouble, right? And so they're like, we've been using your product to maintain the weight. And that's really where it came about. And they're like, but it's a little too high, it's too sticky. We're running the risk of mold. Can you make something that's more specific for cannabis? And that's where we did the research and landed on 62, 58.
And that was right around when Cvault came about too, because like we reached out for the same reason. My dad was living in Georgia. I was living in the Valley. it was Prop 215. I had a house in the Valley, had a couple rooms sectioned off. I was doing my little lights there, and I would send out OG to my dad, and then he would get it, and then it would dry out, because people don't realize that even if you live somewhere that's humid, like Georgia, Georgia's running 90%, you're from Florida, but your house with air conditioning is below 50 probably.
Yeah.
So you don't realize that it is in a dry environment, and it would dry out. And he's like, we got to do something about this. He had smoked cigars, got in contact with Boveda, got the cannabis packs, and the rest was history. Like,
makes a huge difference. And then I'm sure like with your dad, some people can't smoke in the house, so they have to carry their product outside to utilize it. Well, here's a great thing to be able to just pull out a bud, lock it back down, keep it inside. Like, it solves so many real problems for smokers. It really does. And then to be able to, I knew a guy like that I was close with, and every single pound that got sealed up, he'd take two of the small ones, and he had it down in his head of like two small ones. By the time it gets where it's going, when they pull it out, one opening of that air exchange, and he's like, it's perfect.
Yeah. And then he was probably spot on with that.
He had it down. He had it. Didn't matter the strain. He would literally touch it, and he'd be like two of the small ones.
Yep.
And he goes, once in a while, if it was like OG or something that was a little airier, he'd go 3. And I just remember him always saying, when they open this up on the other side or wherever it was allegedly, all it's going to take is 5 minutes of it being open, and it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Versus them getting it and it being over dry, especially in the winter. Doesn't matter if it's triple vacuum sealed.
It
as soon as they open it, that humidity, an immediate interaction with the environment.
It's quick.
Very
if I forget like a nug out on my rolling tray, in the middle of winter, you come back 2 hours later and you're like, shit.
Even in Cali.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just did that at home and I was like, oh, fuck, dude. Because I was going to add this nug to the next joint. And I was like, I'll just leave it out and I'll roll it up with the next joint.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, fucking crunchy ass bud in the middle of
the Colorado crumble.
Yeah. And we're in Cali.
Yeah.
It just shows you that controlling your environment for all cultivators, we know how important that is. Why would that be any different for the stored product or preservation of terps, preservation of flavor, ash, smokability? I mean, I've even seen products where they put bananas in a bag and they show the degradation process and how it's slowed. When you let an air exchange happen, that produce, that flower, there's an interaction that happens. There's an oxidation. There's a change that happens. If you can slow that down, your smokability factor, that window is open.
It is.
I got to get into it because I could talk about how awesome the fucking product is for days. These guys are on here because I love this product. I use it. These are mine. There's a huge stack behind me. This is only part of it. I have probably 8 to 10 of these big ones. I got a bunch of smaller ones.
Yeah.
How did you get into the business? And then how did you get into the business?
So, like I said, I was growing Prop 215 days in the Valley, and my dad, cigar smoker, came up. He had his humidors for cigars have been around for forever, as long as cigars have been around. And it's been known that you need to control the humidity, the relative humidity of what you're keeping your cigars in if you want them to burn and smoke properly and be preserved. But there was nothing like this for cannabis. It was just mason jars, and we all have the tortilla trick, in California,
I did lettuce.
Oh, see, in California, we do tortillas, but lettuce is.
We ran a campaign like in 2017 and we had shirts and it was save your tortillas for Taco Tuesday.
I remember that. That was pretty good.
But then this is what's fucked though. You realize that there is a smell exchange.
Yeah.
That lettuce smells like lettuce. Mm-hmm. And tortillas smell like tortillas.
Yeah.
So then what we would do is we would wash out napkins.
Yeah.
So that the smell of the napkin was gone. Cause sometimes even Bounty, it has a smell to it. So we would, how insane is this? We would wash them out, soak them. No, and then squeeze them out. Yeah. And you can see also, this is what's fucked people. And this is why this episode is so important. There's some type of like residue that comes out of a washcloth, out of a Bounty, whatever it is, right? When you squeeze it, there's a little bit of something. No matter what you do, it's not going to be as clean and as caring for the flower and as non-volatile, I would even say.
Yeah.
Totally non-toxic.
As doing a Boveda and a Cvault.
Right.
Or an eVault.
Right.
And whether you want to use a humidifier pack or you don't need it, or hey, I'm in the middle of summer and I don't need it right now, but in winter I'm going to need it. These are tools. This is your tool belt.
You just hit the nail right on the head. I was about to say that. It's their tools.
Yes.
They're tools and use them as needed, I have clients like in Colombia, like my homie Dakota, he runs Homegrow TV. He's down in Colombia, loves Cvault.
That.
He opens up if he opens up a Cvault, right? He's got his hygrometer in there and you'll watch it go from 62 to 63 to 64 to 65 in seconds. Yeah. Like it's crazy how humid it is.
He's on the opposite side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. Like that's the way that it works. But I guess it was about 13 years ago when we came out with this product. And it started small. We only had personal sizes. Everybody wanted bigger. Cultivators wanted them. So we came out with bigger. And I was resistant. Like I helped my dad test the product, but I kind of wanted to like do my own thing. I didn't really, it wasn't that I didn't want to work with my dad, but I didn't want to make our relationship weird,
That's tough.
It was very tough. So I resisted for a long time. And then eventually, it was evident that I could benefit the company coming on. Social media, connections, whatnot, came on, did the last 6 years with Cvault, and then was very lucky. Boveda purchased Cvault November of last year. It's been a year. That's cool.
I didn't even think about that.
And I was super lucky to be invited to, normally when a company acquires a different company, nobody stays, so I was super lucky to be included in the deal and been here ever since. And super stoked to work with people like Scott and the Boveda team. Like it's really cool.
It's a great partnership. Could you dive a little bit into how'd your dad get into the business?
Interesting, right? So my dad is white collar, conservative, old guy. I mean, he's past 70 now. But at the same time, like he likes smoking weed. He likes smoking weed.
Hey man, I like this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like he loves smoking weed. And so, you know, when I was sending him out the packs to Georgia and they were drying out, like he needed to come up with a solution. And he had spent his history in food and beverage, worked for like Starwood Hotels, Holiday Inn. I also worked for those companies too. And he had just recently stopped working for Starwood and wanted to start his own thing, you know, and he saw a need based on his own problem being, I need to keep my weed fresh. Saw a need and created a solution.
Man, shout out to you guys for putting out a quality product and not just saying, hey, let's do something that's mediocre, but just another option for people, but actually saying, because like this is the highest end quality product for drying and curing your flower. And it makes so much sense that Boveda is coming from cigars, where one cigar can be 500, 1,000, 1,500, 5,000, 15,000. And then you go into
and collections. People collect them.
Yeah,
you know?
truffles.
Yeah.
This is like if I'm buying truffles, I'm storing them in a Cvault. So it makes so much sense that high-end expensive products need preservation. Yeah, so does cannabis, which is a parallel high-end product.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's I mean, again, like I said earlier, Cvault fits perfectly within the Boveda world because we're all about protecting people's passions. We have a product for musical instruments. So, you know, acoustic guitars, violins, ukuleles, any wooden instrument.
Which I didn't even know that was a thing, you know, like I didn't know that was needed.
Yeah.
But it's incredible how needed it is.
Right.
Oh my God. I can only imagine.
Yeah. And then obviously cigars. People are passionate about cigars. You collect them. They're expensive. Some are high end. And then same with cannabis. You know, that came along. So just to back up, we started almost 27 years ago, and the product really was developed for cigars. The two founders, you know, that kind of do all the business sense were cigar lovers. And then there was a chemist and a packaging engineer from General Mills that developed the actual technology. And it started with cigars. Shortly after that, they knew about musical instruments, and so they created a product for that specifically. Then, you know, fast forward to 2012 is when growers were reaching out and saying, "Hey, we've been using your product for a while. It's just a little bit too high. Are you interested in making something that's specific for cannabis?" And at this point, cannabis was not mainstream at all. You know, it wasn't in the spotlight. It wasn't in the news. And it's like, sure, let's do it.
Wow.
If we can help,
hell yeah.
If we can help, let's do it. And
I mean, that was
again,
when it was just like California and Colorado and maybe Oregon.
Yeah.
You know,
It says so much about your founders and also about just like being like, no, we'll take the risk with the reward.
Yeah, right.
Because so many people, AKA, you know, Food Saver and other people, they don't want to touch the industry. Even Grodan, it's like, oh, well, that's only, you know, 10% of their market. And it's like, wow, but they don't even want to acknowledge it.
Right. No, and we jumped in with, you know, both feet first. And it was like, we're doing this, we're doing it. And, you know, I think a lot of people in the early days just thought, hey, they created some gimmick product for cannabis. They saw it blowing up. And it's like, no, we've been doing the same thing for other industries and products that are, you know, similar in a sense, but not, again, passion, they're passion projects or products. And so it was like, we're doing this. And you know, fast forward now to 2024, we're ingrained in the industry and we take great pride in that. And we care a lot about the plant. And again, it's why Cvault is now part of the Boveda fold, is because it's like they have this was a world-class product at protecting cannabis. And this is like the vehicle and Boveda is the engine inside, if you will, that keeps it going. And it just made complete sense. And now,
and we weren't like officially going to use, when we came out with the product, it's not like we were like, oh, Boveda for sure. Like we tested all packs, you know, like, because we're going to go with the best pack, which we did, you know.
And that's another unique thing. The Boveda product and technology is patented and has been. And so that's been really fun. And again, we're creating a category within cannabis, right? He mentioned it earlier, like in the cigar industry, cigar enthusiasts know cigars go in a humidor and you have a humidifier in there. That's how you store and protect them. Otherwise, they crack. If it's too humid, they explode. They mold.
They don't smoke right.
You lose all the essential oils and flavors. You lose all the terpenes. When cannabis dries out, you lose that flavor. You lose some of the effect, all of that. And so, yeah, it's just, again, it's been really fun. And I've been specifically on the cannabis side since I started there 10 years ago, working with more of the large scale producers in North America. So
Shopping spree begins. Cultivators globally trust Drip Hydro. Whether your nutrient solution is in powder form or liquid form, Drip's got you covered. And you know we treat you like family. First Smoke 10 is the discount code. Whether you're in store or online at driphydro.com, doesn't matter. We get you hooked up. driphydro.com. Clean, effective, affordable. First Smoke family, no matter the guest, you know we're rocking raw and Elements papers. Whether it's the Elements king size wide, the raw fatties without the crease, so you still get the king size wide, but with unbleached and uncreased. Something we've been loving on the show is the raw king size blacks. And when we're lighting up, the Phoenix. This is awesome. Flintless residue, windscreen with a poker. No matter what products you like from Raw, you can check out genuineraw.com and that gets you to all their affiliate links to purchase these products direct from them to make sure they're raw authentic. Genuineraw.com. First Smoke of the Day sent you.
It's scalable.
it's really scalable, and it can be intimidating when you look at it, but it's like these products last, the Cvault specifically last for a long time. You clean them, take care of them, you're gonna proof is in the pudding.
Plus. No, they're like, oh, you just for everyone listening, they're like, oh, these are the old hinges, and this is the old, and it's like, yeah, I was thinking on the drive over here, when was the first facility we started? And I was like, it had to have been somewhere between 6 and 7 years, in my opinion. That's where that was. And I was like, I'll have to line that up with like how long the company's been open. But that's when I remember roughly putting them in play and being like, oh, I solved the problem now. Now it's just about having enough.
Yeah.
It's not about finding out something better. This is the best solution, in my opinion, for drying and curing product. Whether it's your head stash, whether it's your 150 lighter, whether it's 1,000 lighter. If you show up with these and you start to pop these open, I don't care who you are. It's the same with kids. Control their environment. And it parallels growing like this right now. We're smoking these joints, and a big product now is rolls. And now people are putting expensive hash, expensive flower, and they're getting 100 of them or 200 rolled. You know what that's worth? Retail, I mean, you're talking about, 15 grand, 20 grand sometimes. And to not control that. So these right here, these hand rolls, right? This is 2 different kinds of flour.
Oh, fire.
I have a big container. I have like a tote. That's a food grade tote with a liner. These are inside of that, my Cvaults. And then this is inside of the Cvault, because I was having these in a container, and I was finding with winter in Cali right now, things are drying out. They were smoking whiter, but my flavor was getting lackluster. And so I immediately put them in a Ziploc, put it inside here, and then this inside of a tote that has a liner. Dude, I pull one of these out. This is now, I've been pulling my head stash. Like I'd rather smoke these than anything. And I'm smoking something that got rolled 35, 40 days ago, and it's smoking like Harvest Day.
Yeah, I mean, look at that.
Crazy?
Look at that oil ring right there.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just flour. This is why I carry these everywhere I go, but it just shows though that with rolls today, you can't just leave these out.
No.
And this is the perfect solution for that. And then to take a Boveda, what I do is I buffer my environment. So, I'm gonna give someone this is my trick, is I have my big bin, right? My tote, and it has I found one with a real spongy gasket. I put my Boveda in that, and then I put these inside. so that the environment around the Cvaults is controlled.
Yep.
And then how I want my flower is exactly how I want it in the Cvault.
Yep.
So that air exchange, when I open that bin lid, as soon as I put the bin lid back on, it's already starting to marginalize or get even back where I want it.
Reach equilibrium is how we say it. Yep.
And so it's like, people need to realize with products like this is that this is a race car. You get to drive it how you want. This product is tailored to you. So if you want the super low humidity pack and you just want to have it as the very bottom so my shit doesn't drop below this, or whether you're like, I like it exactly here.
Well, it's funny you talk about that, because like that's, people use these for a bunch of reasons that we had no idea and couldn't have foreseen. Like we have people that are hot curing and cold curing their rosin in them, you know, and those gaskets, I mean, obviously you're never going to melt the food grade stainless steel, but those gaskets will hold up at 200 plus for like 10,000 hours. So people can cold cure in them, hot cure in them, mine diamonds, hydrocarbon extraction. Like you're saying with the pre-rolls, I have people that are putting their rolls in there, all kinds of stuff.
All the flour, like, so if you mill up all your flour before you're going to do your pre-rolls, boom. When you mill up flour or grind it up, you're exposing all that surface area. So it's going to dry out fast.
Immediately.
And that's why joints and pre-rolls are inherently dry.
You usually smoke like shit.
Yeah. You buy one, they're cheap at the dispensary, whatever. And it's because of just how they're manufactured, right? Mm-hmm. You grind it all up, all that's exposed. And so storing it in something like this mitigates that. Again, it's just about mitigating the degradation that's going to happen regardless. You chopped it down, you killed it. It's dying now. It's degrading, and our products slow that down.
Yeah, I wish back in the day my mentor used to pull out jars and he'd be like, let's smoke pot of gold on its birthday, 2 years from harvest. I swear to God, he's like a wackadoo, dude.
That's fun.
He's an
awesome
dude.
That's
guy.
fun.
I'm finally gonna get him on, but he would bring out a harvest batch on its birthday, like, hey, it's Blueberry's second birthday. I swear to God, and he'd be like, let's roll a joint. And so we've smoked certain flour up till 3 years after it was harvested, and it didn't leave that jar. He would like pull the nug out, break a few little pieces off, roll a fat joint, and put the rest back in and be like, that won't get open till next year on its birthday. Like, that's how we only wish we could get to the point where we could have controlled that environment, because like, I just remember it always being like, it's like watching it's like watching Tyson.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, man, that's not what we remember.
It was hard to watch.
The knees looked rough. Yeah. But it's the same thing. And it's like, if you can control that, if you could preserve him from aging 30 years,
it would have been a massacre.
Yeah. But it's so true.
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard it a ton, but we've had so many people that are like, dude, I put like my favorite weed from 2 years ago in a Cvault with Boveda, and I thought I lost it, just found it in my car. I'm like, how do you lose a Cvault in your car for 2 years? But
I've done it.
Yeah. And I opened it, and it's still as fresh as the day that I packaged it. It's like, that's
tested Cvault. We tested it in the early days, like just for proof of concept. We tested like how long could we keep, how long could we, this was before people were talking about terps, bro. Everybody was just talking about THC. That's all anybody cared about. And so we tested like, how long can we maintain THC levels? And we got a half a year with zero degradation, zero loss of weight, zero loss of THC content. After that, you start to notice like a slight degradation. But I've personally talked to people who it's like they'll have a storage unit and they'll have a nightstand in a storage unit, and then they'll undo they're selling their shit or whatever. Find a Cvault from 4 or 5 years ago in there, open it up, and it's still smoking. Like, but I don't have numbers for that. I got numbers for half a year.
Well, and even seeds. I mean, like, everyone always wants to know, like, how do you preserve your seeds from being affected by the environment? How do you preserve your seeds from light? How do you preserve your seeds from swings in temperature? And it's like, great time to vacuum seal them, possibly vacuum seal some type of humidity control in them, and then put them inside of a Cvault, and then either refrigerate them or store them how you want. But it's like, you're going to stop that air exchange, right? That's the whole point of it. Instead of it going straight in the fridge and everything's getting humidified, I've had so many issues with old packs of seeds that I didn't store properly. And I've invested insane amounts of money.
Of course,
like blow
yeah.
your mind money.
Genetics
And then
can get pricey.
just in something like this,
Right.
if you put your packs inside of here and you were to say, now I want to hold this for a year or two, how would I would put it in this?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and it's rigid too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that extra layer of security, really.
Yeah, I got a homie, Brian Embry. Shout out to Brian, but he has a bunch of like landrace genetics, and he won't trust anything else other than Cvault for his seed storage.
what are some of the new stuff you're working on with these and with Boveda?
So we have a lot of cool new stuff. So one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about, and this isn't out yet, and it's, I'm sure that people will have a lot of stuff to say about it, but I just want them to try it. So we're coming out with a curing pack, and I'm part of the team that's developing this pack and testing it. And when they approached me with this idea, I said that's not going to work, because the concept is 10-day cure, no burping. Just as good, if not better, than the way you're doing it now. And I said, no, there's no fucking way. Like I went into it 100% skeptical because I just didn't think it was going to work. And I thought we were going to be killing the product, which we'll do. If it doesn't work, we'll do it. So we rounded up about 75 home growers this is for the home grow market. We really want to like make sure that, I feel like a lot of people will worry about like B2B, and they won't, they're not concerned with the consumer. They're like, that'll come later or whatever. But we want to make sure that we take care of our consumers. Home grow market's huge, especially like post-COVID, it exploded. And so we got about 75 home grow testers, all different experience levels. And this pack, I sent them out to them. Some people got Cvault, some people have bags, and we wanted them to go head to head with what they're currently doing and side by side with this method.
Love it.
And I wanted just honest feedback, and I was expecting the worst. Like I said, the results started to come back, and everybody's saying like, I need this. Where can I get more of this? Like, first of all, the questionnaire is it's like, compare it to the way compare the smokability to what you cured. And we wanted them side by side. So you set part of your harvest for each method. Everybody was like, I need this immediately. Like I did cured in 10 days, and it was just as good, if not better. If it wasn't just as good, we had to kill it. If it wasn't just as good, there's no point in us spending any time on this.
Yes.
And so then to hear that it was just as good, if not better, than their current method in 10 days, like that, I was like, we have something here. So we're working on that. It's not out yet, but it will be. And I'm really excited to get that out there. I think like it's a pain point for people. Curing is a serious pain point. So if you don't have to burp it and you can get it smokable in 10 days, that's beautiful. Obviously, throw it in the Cvault, take out the pack, put a 58% in there, and then you can continue that cure. Some people love to cure for a long time, and that's great. Do that. And it's really exciting. Like the results I've smoked flour that's been cured this way. It's phenomenal. I smoked rosin that's been pressed from this flour. It's phenomenal. So I'm excited for that. We got the chromatic Cvaults coming out, where all these are going to be limited. So we're kind of like taking a page out of Stanley and Yeti, like give people some colors that they want.
Some
put
flair.
them out. Yeah, put them out there. Let them they can switch out the lids. You can, have this color, match your fit, whatever you want to do with it. But it's
Or strain specific colors.
Exactly.
I love it, dude. I think and I love that. Will you open one up? There's a gasket inside there.
Yeah, dude.
See, and that's what people don't understand is it's the details.
Mm-hmm.
It really is the details. And that's when I saw you open that up, and even the notch of how it locks into place on the side.
Yep.
That's well thought out.
And we've been knocked off, right? Like people have tried to knock us off, and they'll go to China and have a cheap imitation produced, and they're no longer around because it just doesn't work as well. They don't we've made modifications based on feedback from our clients. Like we're not just like, this is what you need to do. We're like, hey, let us know how you like it. What can we improve on? What can we make better? And we keep coming out with better additions.
The best products work for large scale grows and small scale grows. It's not like, hey, this will only work for you, man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same with Boveda. It's like this is built and has been tried and trusted and true through everything from 1,000 lights down to a 250 watt bulb
Yeah.
in one plant.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I love like you being able to utilize these tools. Like again, we'll go back to this is a tool belt,
Mhm.
and this is a phenomenal tool in your tool belt for
Right.
cultivators, head stash owners, trappers. I'll keep going back to that.
Yeah, you want to
The-
set yourself
dude.
apart. Like this is
You want to sell limited runs of ounces.
exactly.
We do-
especially with these, people are getting ounces fucking $600-$700 right now.
Yeah.
Like the homie fuck. Like shout out.
and even more.
Yeah. Which
Yes.
is, mind blowing to me. But like, we've had conversations like where people want to, put their brand on this, offer it in that. I mean, you're still it's still in your margins for packaging costs, at wholesale. So it works. It's cheaper than a t-shirt. A t-shirt, you're going to wear that for a few years and it's not going to be around anymore. They're still going to have your branded Cvault from 10 years ago.
You know what a big problem too is? There's so many, let's say, competitor containers, but what's the lid made out of? So it doesn't matter if it's glass. It doesn't matter if you're like, well, I use this and this is what is that lid made out of? I ran into so many issues throughout the years of finding a cool or a good container, like, oh, this will work. But then the lid has a plastic liner or is plastic itself,
Right.
or is just shit quality and you can't even clamp it down proper. So now you're figuring out from scratch how to make this thing better that's already failing.
Yeah.
It just, I've run into so many issues that when I run into a product that for me personally helps solve check boxes, and then now add to it the versatility of like, oh, I want to show some product off, man. I pop that lid off, dude, and I catch a video off that thing. And this is to you trappers. I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are always coming up with like, I'm going to take the video, but then put the LED behind it. And there's 100 ways that everyone thinks like, no, you got to turn all the lights off in the room and you got to use your phone light. Whatever your method, it's not going to beat putting it in a Cvault and then doing it that way. I mean, it is next level. And so when I would show product, this is what was so dope too. I would show like a pound one.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, no, this is the same one you're getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The one I just sent you the video of.
Yeah, that's
what-
yours.
Here's your Cvault pound. I didn't even have to put it in a turkey. When you look at the video, you're like, oh, that was that same nug.
Yeah.
I remember we used to deliver pounds to like MedMen. This goes way back. And they would buy like 14 pounds at a time, 16, and all one strain too. This will blow people's minds because now they want, you want a pound of every strain, 14 pounds. It's insane what the market's gotten to. But they would be like, hey, 14 pounds of X, Y, or Z. All 14 would come in Cvaults. And we would just bring literally Cvaults, and then they can weigh them into whatever they want. But when they're getting the product and they're pulling out, and what's dope is each one's a pound. So each one's 454. So they would pour it out and it was the perfect 454 pound.
And some of them will stick in that shape
Oh.
too. I call that the cake, dude.
Yeah.
But even the buyer, the consumer, whoever, when they open the top of that and you get to see the product in that form,
Mm-hmm.
it makes such a difference from that thing being trimmed into a bin, put in a bag, from a bag to, on a shelf, or a bag inside of a bunch of bags getting compressed. That's the thing that people don't understand too.
Right.
I'm going to keep harping on this for all you people. I hope you know this. This is a product I love so much because I could put 50 of these on top of each other. None of the product's going to be affected.
The bottom's the same as the top.
If I take turkey bags and
Or
I start
any
to
bag.
and I just let them touch each other, just
Right.
touch,
Yep.
not even much weight, but just touch.
Mm-hmm.
That product is changed. It is 100% changed. And this is why I don't use duffel bags. People will give me, I'd rather use hard luggage.
Mhm.
Right.
Even that, how crazy is this? If you put 10 pounds in hard luggage, the top pounds obviously have the least amount of weight on them.
Yeah.
So you have to think about this
Right.
as a dealer or as a grower, consumer, is that this product, like, you've spent all this money, you want these effects, you want this flavor,
Yeah.
you're seeking out the best of the best, and then you're gonna just give it up at the end.
So
Not
it's
take
funny.
care of
man.
it. It's like you buy a Ferrari, but you park it outside, and
We never wash it or wax it.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, trade that bitch in and get something, a Hyundai that you
Right.
don't gotta worry about.
or it's like think about milk. You buy milk, you put it in the fridge, right? But why? Because it preserves it in the integrity of it.
It's funny you mentioned MedMen too. So, eventually MedMen, everything was prepackaged.
Yeah.
And they were buying Cvaults, even though everything was prepackaged, because they would stack them in the back. They'd have like a wall of Cvaults to give the illusion that they were using them, even though everything was coming prepackaged. So you'd see the stack of Cvaults.
That's gotta be the beginning of the end. Yeah, you start putting Cvaults up that you aren't. But like, I do remember them weighing out of those, and I always thought like, dude, because
deli style dispensaries that are doing it with the Cvaults, like it's so much better than glass.
They had no budget either.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find the best method. Like, look to them. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, they had no budget. It's like, yeah, but they picked out the best method to do it.
Right.
And this is what's crazy. These are 7 years old. This product, no lie, could last you 10 plus years, a decade plus with the same investment. That will never happen with glass. You don't even, dude, even bringing bins of ting, 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 ting. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
I mean, theoretically, it can be a one-time buy, which is almost unheard of. You know, like name one other thing that you only have to buy
not
once.
great for us.
No.
But
it is a challenge for me, to be honest. I'll follow up with clients and I'm like, how are things going? I've talked to them in 2 years and they're like, things are great.
Things are great.
They look brand new.
Yeah, exactly.
You sure you don't want a new one?
Yeah.
Well,
But the goal is that the goal is that people expand, you know, and that people, you know, expand and then people get them as gifts. Like I like to say, friends don't let friends smoke dry weed.
Yeah.
So
the sizing too, I have every size because there was a time where I was growing different amounts of plants of each one. It wasn't like a row of this. It was like, hey, 4 of those, 6 of these. So now there's no reason, and I don't want the air exchange on a large Cvault if I'm only putting a QP or a half pound in one.
Right.
So I started to just be like, okay, I need 4 sizes. I need my Q, my half, my pound, and then my large harvest, which I would say 2.5 pounds.
Yeah.
And then you start to figure out, if I oversize it by this much, perfect cure.
Right.
Perfect. And then I can even, what I was doing is buying 2 of them, putting them mouth to mouth,
Oh, flipping it.
and then just flipping it for the cure.
That's nice.
This is what people, I want you to understand how passionate I am about
nice.
trying to make sure the flower as Blackleaf, you know, and then you'd pull the other one off and it would be totally flipped around perfectly.
Yeah, perfect.
And we would do stuff like that, or I would take half and, you know, when they're stuck together, and take the 1/2 cake, put it in this side.
Yep.
But it's
That's
like
real nerdy stuff.
Yeah, no, that's
but you
perfect.
can
I
do
love
that
Yeah.
when you really care about the product, and no grower out there is going to tell you it doesn't matter. It makes a huge difference because you see your product, and then when people hold on to it and mistreat it, you see what it looks like. It's rough. And I mean, it smokes so different, man. When a product is treated like that, I just feel like we invest so much time and energy and conversation about the growing side, about the nutrients you're using, about, are your trimmers touching the stem or are they touching the buds?
Right.
What strain are you growing? Some people have paid $10, $15, $20,000 for a cut,
which is mind blowing to me.
Some people have hunted a cut, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
You've spent a year, that's income.
Oh,
so
yeah.
whether you say, well, I hunt everything from seed, yeah, you still spent 5-10 grand on that thing,
Yeah.
getting it to where you found a keeper, you bought the seeds. So you would go to all that time. Why wouldn't you then figure out the best method once it comes down and it's cut? What do I do?
Yeah.
And it's funny how many people think about that, like, as that process is starting for them. Like, I'm sure you've gotten a call where it's like, hey, I need this yesterday. And I'm like, dude, that's so weird. Like, did you forget that you were growing a bunch of peas? Like, what happened? You know?
Yeah. Hey man,
I need a pallet overnighted to BC up in Vancouver. I need it in Vancouver.
And we'll do it.
That's
we'll get it to you. But
how do you figure out with Boveda? How do you figure out what the right size humidity pack? Because you hear people, and what I think the issue is people use things wrong. So they'll use something that's too much humidity or in a too small of a container, and then they'll not have their flower what they want. But it's like, this is a gas pedal. You get to press it as hard as you want. How do you figure that out?
Yeah. I mean, so each pack is designed to a specific size for a specific amount of cannabis, and it's based off of how much available water it has to give off, or moisture in other terms. So it's like for our size 67 is designed for up to a pound. That pack, that weighs 67 grams. So that's how much solution is in there of Boveda solution, if you will. And that can give off roughly 35% of its weight in moisture. So I think that's around like 26 grams. I don't quote me on the math. I'm not that smart, but something around there. So call it 26 grams. That can give off in weight. And so it's just based off of normally how much moisture is a pound of weed going to give off in a, specific amount of time. And so that's how we kind of came up with the numbers.
And for people listening, like, come in under if you need to. And it's what I recommend with cultivation, with dehumidification, is going over. There's some things you want to come in heavier on, and there's some things you might want to come in lower, and you can always scale it up. And if you're cautious, that's always a positive.
Yeah.
So come in a little, like if that's made for a pound, maybe you get the half of that size and you get 2 of them.
Yeah.
And you try out the first one and see, does that get me where I want to be?
Right.
Because this is perception. Everyone wants something different.
Yeah, it is.
And stick it in it. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah. At the end of the day, it really is all, everyone has their own perception of what is good and what's not. And so, yeah. And we make a 58, a 62, we're coming out potentially with this cure pack that's going to be a different RH level. And so we have options. We have a lot of different sizes, just like the Cvault. We have a different size for each one of these Cvaults. And
is there any type of, people will always, like, I know the couple questions that come up is there any type of chemical release?
No, there's not. So that's all a myth. That was unfortunately started by a competitor, and that is what it is. But no, we only give off 100% purified water vapor. We've done the testing. One thing that we're not shy to talk about is we've heard, Boveda robs the terps. It steals the smell.
Terps.
And so when we started hearing that roughly 5 years ago now, we're like, well, okay, we thought our product's saving the terps and preserving it. Like if it's really stealing the terps, this is a bad thing. And so we spent a lot of time, about 3 years, researching cannabis stored with our product and without, and what it did to the terpenes. And we found that it actually saves and preserves the terpenes. So in a lot of cases, 18, 20% more terpenes are preserved over 3 months when you store with our product versus with not. We've had brands that have kind of felt similar thoughts, like, we don't need this. It steals the terps. And we challenged them, okay, do a side-by-side blind test. So they had their expert growers. This is a well-known craft brand up in BC in Canada, and they had their craft growers do a side-by-side. And all of them picked the product that was stored with Boveda blindly after they smoked it. And they're like, wow, we're wrong, I guess. But we still don't believe that it's doing what they say it's doing. So they actually sent product into their own lab and had it tested. And all the product that was stored with Boveda after 3 months had a higher percentage of terpenes still present. So
it's a misconception that happens because people, you open a bag and you get smacked in the face with that smell, right? People associate that with that being a good thing. But what's happening right there is that smell is created by terpenes that are evaporated into that headspace, and then you're breathing them in, and that's how you're smelling them. That's how you're able to smell them. So product or flower that's kept with Boveda, when you open it, it might smell a little less than what you're used to or what you thought it should. But that's because that's actually a good thing. It's because your terps are being preserved on your flower as opposed to evaporating into where you're able to smell them. As soon as you grind it up, you're smacked right in the face with that smell. Like we did a study on.
Yeah, we sent there was product done at a sensory lab. And so these are experts at smell, taste, all of that kind of stuff. And they smelt flour before they ground it up, stored with and without Boveda. The flour that was stored without Boveda smelled more before grinding it in its whole bud form. And then they ground the flour up and smelled it. And the flour that was stored with Boveda, on average, had a 5x greater smell than the flour without. And so again, this is over about 3 years that we're doing all this research and putting together data. And so really what we learned through it is, you do have a more muted smell when you use Boveda. And that's because those trichomes are essentially being protected by that constant humidity control. And so it's keeping those trichomes intact on the bud and keeping them healthy. And so we've had like up close images done of products stored with Boveda, and we can share this with anyone.
It looks crazy. Like, you know, those pictures that we're talking about, like surface area that we know and love, Boveda or terpenes that have evaporated, it looks like they're like dead and withered and like disgusting. Like it's a vast
like
difference.
Dried fruit.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Totally decayed.
I know exactly what you're talking about. When terpenes off gas, it's like taking anyone who's even an extract person, when you put that jar of rosin in the fridge and you immediately pull it out, if you smell it, there's barely
anything.
Or what is there is not going to be 5x what, when that gets to room temperature and
Totally
those
different
terps start
world.
to off gas.
Yeah.
Which means there's an air exchange, an oxidation that's happening. There's a release that's happening. Of course, that's going to hit you in the nose stronger, but you're also losing that in the product.
Right.
So you get
Once
that
it's
exchange.
in your nose, it's not there.
Yes.
You know?
And so again, we'll bring this up. This is a tool for your tool belt and you need to know how to use it.
Yep.
And I think misuse is where a lot of that bullshit comes from, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I've used the product and I've also not used the product, and I've tempered with it and played with it.
Yeah.
And I've been like, let me come under, and then let me a day or two before these go out, I'm going to pull the Bovedas out.
Exactly.
And let it finalize up, you know, and being able to kind of test it along the way. Like, this is a test for you guys to try out, where I'm going to do it this way with this harvest, and I'm going to smoke it after the fact, or I'm going to try it this way. And you get to make your own opinion.
Yeah, totally.
That's what's dope about this.
And that's what we don't listen to us.
Try it
side by side.
Hit us up. We'll send you a sample.
And understand
we
the
love giving
science.
samples out.
Yeah.
Like, let people, like, I want people to understand the science of, okay, it's deadening my terps. Well, why is that?
Right.
And then how do I utilize it properly where it's stored to where I do preserve my terps?
Right.
And then when I want,
You let
at
it
this
open up.
time, I let it out.
Yeah.
And so, like, again, this is a tool for your tool belt, and you get to utilize it how you want in your garden or in your head stash or in your trappings, let's call it.
Yep.
I mean, turkey bags. If I get a turkey bag of some fire, which is how a lot of people utilize a product these days, because it's cheap and it's easy to hide it and just pound in each one. This is as old as time. The cavemen were putting turkey bags together. Like, but to take that turkey and then to be able to take, this is my size that I like right here, right? And obviously this is a new one because this has got the nice handles and shit. I can already feel it. But to flip it and then to have my turkey bag as a liner inside of this, and then to be able to take this, I open up the bag, I can kind of break up the nug a little bit so it's evenly, and then just go like this and lock this fucking thing down. And then I like how you did this, where you can even zip tie.
Yeah, zip tie. You can label, you can make it tamper evident. Like, I have clients, in Canada where it's different, right? In Canada, they have like licenses to be able to send product with FedEx and UPS.
Oh, that's
totally legal. Totally. And they're sending, I have a client that was sending jars of distillate through the mail, and they would show up at their clients' facilities broken.
Of course.
Because we all know, like, sometimes it's like the UPS guy's playing hacky sack with your package to get it to the door.
Talk about a dice roll.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
You're going to risk that?
Well, and you can't put it in plastic.
No.
So how do you, and you need it to be dummy proof.
Yes.
You need them to be able to kick it all the way to the other facility if they want.
Which they started using our e-vaults for their bulk distillate packaging. And I mean, with packaging of distillate, if you're packaging your distillate in this, it's a less than 1% packaging cost.
Or just resin, let's say.
Exactly. Or resin. Yeah. It's with resin, it's much less than 1%. And you're getting it there safe. I mean, you're not, I can't tell you how many lab managers have shown me broken jars on the ground. And they're like, that's how we came up with the e-vault, because they were using the C-vault for that. But the C-vault's got the lid holder in it, so for liquids, it's not ideal. And then, so we modified it, came up with 316 stainless steel. That's what most extraction equipment's made out of. So they're familiar with it. Plus, we wanted to implement a grade of stainless steel that if there's ever a standard that's created for pharmaceutical storage, we wanted to be ahead of that standard to where like if there's a facility that had a bunch of 304, now this regulation has came in, now they have to replace everything, you know? So we wanted to just be ahead of the game with that, come up with something that can come in with something that's as high grade as it can be so that there's no standard or regulation that will be put in where we're not in there. And it's been bonkers. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's a
It's
great,
been really fun.
yeah.
right? And you guys, we're just getting into it. I mean, wait till we get into South America. Wait till the U.S. opens up where we have transport between states.
Oh, and we're
We're in the infancy stages, especially in the U.S. and Germany. The EU is blowing up for us right now. It's insane over there. And again, we're just at the tip of it's just the beginning of what could be. And so it's been pretty fun, especially 10 plus years roughly, and a lot's changed. Watching Canada legalized countrywide was pretty nuts, and thinking that the US was going to do it and that it doesn't happen. It's like, I don't know.
And I love seeing like just different, it's always cool to see like your clients succeed too, like when they implement something like a product of yours into their SOP and it pays off, like, and who knows, had they done that, they probably would have crushed it anyways because they do things right. But like, I mean, shout out to like Bosky and Ryan Clark over there. They use the 8 liters on the back end to cure all their product, their final cure before it goes out into the market. And it's some of the best flour on the rec market right now, at least in California. And then it was funny you mentioned trimming right into it. Like, the homie Justin Cron, I saw he's in trim jail right now. And that's what he does. He trims right into the Cvaults,
Another person who really cares about how his end product is handled.
Super. I mean, some of the best, like, I mean, I haven't had the privilege of smoking it yet, but it fucking looks phenomenal.
Oh, visually. Well, and if you take that much care in just that part of it, obviously, I'm not saying all of the time, but most of the time, you've taken that much care in every part of the process.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And
So
then
to
see them
There's a
win,
theme, right?
like to see them
Care.
win is cool. Like to see like them do like just, and especially within an industry where turnover is extreme, and that's trapping turnover, MSO turnover, like every gamut, the turnover is extreme. So to see like your people like fucking crushing it is always awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, to think too with Boveda that you're able to store violins that could be worth hundreds of thousands.
500,000.
There you go.
Damn.
Guitars that are worth probably
Literally.
500,000.
Yeah, we've been a part of like some insurance policies for those violins because they're $500,000.
Holy.
And so people are trusting our product to do that, and
I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah. Well, this is used to having the care that it really takes to store a high-end product. So it's not like you're having to step up to the plate and be like, hey, we've been using plastic containers, but now we're doing this. It's like, no, we've been taking care of, millions of dollars worth of people's products. And this is no different. The same amount of care and thought with air exchange. And is there some type of, no, it's ionized water, right?
Yeah, it's natural water, purified water with natural salt, and xanthan gum, which is a food thickening agent in a lot of foods that you probably
salad dressing, like anything you could think of.
Yeah, so it is a all natural product. It's all food grade ingredients. It's non-toxic.
So I won't go from passing testing to failing testing.
No, not at all. No, we have the toxicologies on it. Again, we're used in food products, beef jerkies, packaging.
And soon there's going to be regulations for like water activity content in flour, like that's going to be a thing. And so you might go from not passing to then using the product and passing because it's got the right amount of humidity there.
Yeah. And it makes sense too that, I mean, control. Having to be able to control it and the option to be able to control it, whether you want to use it, whether you don't, whether you want to store it this way, or I like to use it this way and this way, doesn't matter. It's tools, right?
Exactly.
And you're able to now use them to better your outcome. This has been a product I've used personally. I watched Justin Cron use them. Some of the best curators of cannabis have used them. And that's where I see like, they're on Cvaults.
Yeah.
And then to be able to take it to your environment, like right now in Cali, like things are getting crunchy quick. I can only imagine. I was out in Colorado for years, same thing. You have to come up with a solution.
Well, like
There is no like put it in a glass jar and let it age. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter. It's still gonna dry. It's drying out day by day.
It is.
Like
Yeah.
I get a lot of my flour from my homie Casper, and he's in Vegas. And I mean, I don't know many places drier than Vegas. And he uses the Cvault, and when I get it, as fresh as it could possibly be. Like you have no idea that was grown in the desert. You know, like
With as far as this product and Boveda, if no matter if I'm a big grower or I just head stash stuff, like where can I find your stuff? Where do I go? Like how do I hunt all this stuff down?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot direct, so you can reach out direct to us if you're a brand, a grower, a business, whatever it might be. We'd love to work with you direct and get you hooked up. We work with anyone and everyone that's that's growing at scale, and then we have our own direct consumer site if you're a consumer at home, or Amazon.
And if you're a consumer and you're reaching out to us, like you're talking to us.
Yeah.
You know, like I run all of Cvault social media. So if you have a question and you DM me on there, like you're talking to me, you know, not like I saw recently on Instagram, it was like, do you want to set up your AI? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So they have it to where now like AI will respond to your DMs and stuff. That's not happening here. Like you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Any question you have, it doesn't matter if you're, an MSO CEO or you're, growing a plant in your tent, hit me up.
That's so important, man, because people have so many questions when they're going to spend money on something high end, and that it's going to last, and that I get the right size, and that, hey, when's the next discount code, or when's the next, like whatever it is, they're able to access you. And just, I mean, such a solid ass product, bro. It really is. And what a pairing.
Yeah.
Like for them to be able to buy a Cvault, and then it comes with a Boveda.
Yep.
And to be able to utilize it and try it out without having to go to two different websites and buy two different things, like you basically get the trial.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like that's epic.
Yeah.
And then you can scale it how you want. You can say, okay, next time I'm going to buy a bigger Cvault and I'm going to scale up this, or I'm going to go this.
You're right.
Dude.
Options.
Phenomenal.
And when I hit you up to try to come on here and you were like, bro, like I have been using Cvaults for years. I was like, fuck yes. Like this is the best. Like that.
As you can tell.
My favorite person to talk to is somebody who's used the product, because it's never a bad conversation. It's like, dude, I still have it. Or a lot of times it's like, I gave it to a homie, I need another one, because like I said, friends don't let friends smoke dry weed. So
dude, we had a facility I had partners on, and I had brought that big one that's sitting over there under the D for first smoke of the day for everyone watching on YouTube. And, I had I think 8 of them is what I have of those. And it was so perfect because we could fit exactly like a 9 light row in these. And it was like, it's so perfect. And it kills me that I left them. I literally think about it. And
well, the plug, bro. So.
Yeah, I know. I was no lie. I was going to be petty and reach back out to them and be like, are you still using those? Can I get those back? Because I like to take, so sometimes when I'll get a turkey bag pound, I like to take that and store it properly. I don't like to just leave the turkey bag out. Even in a bin, there's air exchange.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be smoking it, or if someone close to me is going to be smoking it, which is most of the stuff that travels through my hands, I want to store it properly. So without even me caring, if it's just quick, I can take that big one. I can put the turkey right inside of it, and I can go and then what I can also do is I can put a Boveda in the Cvault, but I can keep the weed in the turkey.
Yeah, close it up. Yep.
And so there's because it maybe in 2 hours I'm going to grab it out and move it. But it's it's all these small steps that it's just people are.
It's because you care.
Yes.
It's because you care.
You got to care.
Quality, maybe.
It makes a big difference.
And it shows. And the people that experience your flower, they can experience that immediately. There's a very stark difference between something that was grown with care and love and passion and something that wasn't.
Think about extracts.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a reason you put it in the fridge.
Yes.
If not, everyone would just leave them out in the middle of the day. Everyone knows don't leave your extract pen in your car.
Right.
Because it gets 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening is it's ruining it. So why wouldn't you take the same amount of care?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially, dude, $1,000 ounces, people are. It kills me, and it's like the only jar I've
ounces.
bro.
Like, can you imagine?
I thought that was a myth And then I looked into it and I was like, this is 100% legitimate.
And there's honestly maybe 1 to 2 other packaging that as far as ounces goes or small amounts for sellables that I would say would be even in the same realm, not in the category, that's a whole different thing, but a realm where like, and what's weird is like, that's not what they're coming in. So the $1,000 ounces and shit, like they're in a glass mason jar or they're in a smaller, like, you know, tinted jar with a plastic top.
Yep. That's the thing.
At least with a mason jar, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
If you're going to smoke out of it, all right. And it's an ounce. But the other stuff that I'm like, yo, it's even more expensive. It's just crazy because it's like, you really solved a problem with this, bro. And it's the same thing with Boveda is like, if you live in certain parts of the US, yeah, you probably can get away with not using one in a certain time of year. But you're talking about so many other places that immediately when that thing gets dried up, like Colorado,
Dude.
you would have humidifiers in the dry room.
Yeah.
Right.
Think about that. Because if not, in 3 days, it's boned. And then you get this weird thing where like, if you leave the leaves on, they'll dry out, but the inside still stays tacky. And then it's as soon as you clip that off and put it in a bag, it gets dampened down.
Flour is hard in Colorado.
Gotta figure out your process.
Flour is hard in Colorado.
Yes.
That's why they're crushing, you know, the rosin, and because like they're like, we gotta turn this into something that we can preserve. You know?
Well, because there isn't enough products, and we get sold as an industry, we get sold a lot of like home grow shit. And they're like, yeah, now use it for your $1 million op. Or now scale it. Or it's like, well, yeah, that works for a tent. But that's it.
Right.
Or the target market and is such a small percentage of cultivators or the industry. Let's say it's only for cultivators.
Right.
This isn't that. And that's what I love about it is that like I put everyone onto these, man. I really do because
and we appreciate
there's a
that.
size for everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, if I sell you a zip, you should probably get one of these at your house.
Right.
If you have a couple plants coming down, yeah, bro, you should probably get 4 or 5 of these.
Right. And that will last you. If you're a home grower, that's going to last you forever.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Come on.
Dude. And then even if you end up scaling up for what gets sold and your grow scales up, this is perfect for head stash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is about what I keep, 3 to 4 ounces, 5 ounces of each flavor, somewhere between 3 and 5. Yeah, that's exactly what I keep in there. And then you got the big ones. And it's so versatile, bro. It's so cleanable. One of the first things we would do every harvest is line all of them up, connect them with their tops. And then one by one, our team would start to spray them down with alcohol, wipe them down, hit the gasket, hit all the crevices. And then if we still didn't like it, I would put the main part without the gasket in the dishwasher and we would do that. And then wipe it down with alcohol and everything. And it's like, you can take boiling hot water if you want and put it inside. I've done that. Where as hot as it'll go. And then we're scrubbing these things. And the part I love about it is that there is no residue of smell. There is no staining. I see it's such a good high quality product that it's like, I've obviously spent thousands on them because there's no other alternative for me anymore. Like this is it. If I have 100 lights, I'm just buying more of the big ones. Like I've had people send me so many curing stuff. And my question always goes to, is it a bag? Because I know immediately it's not on the same level. I don't care what you are. Yes, you do preserve terps and you can do this and that's phenomenal. But when weed goes in a bag, I know what happens to it. I don't care. So then flip side, I can control my environment without having it touching the flower.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Just levels.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we even have and people will modify them to fit their use, like there's like the cure puck.
Yeah.
We have there's a company Twister that makes a cure puck and it automates your curing process, the burping process basically. And they just drill a hole in, fits right in, boom. Now it's auto curing.
Links right to your phone via Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. Yeah. People are drilling holes in the tops, putting little adapters on with filters and
doing vacuum filtration.
It's a quality product.
Yeah.
And then to be able to like this right here, right? I like to put my product inside of this and then control the environment around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think people, because I hear the same things that we talked about in this episode, and I I'm always like, oh, you're not using it right.
Right.
You gotta drive that car at 90, not 40.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly,
Whatever.
yeah.
And it's like, you have to figure out your process. And so
Yeah.
I'll put, turkeys in this one and then put it in a bin where I got my Bovedas in the bin, not
Yeah.
in the Cvaults.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
I
that's-
feel like
everyone
for
has
me,
their own process.
I get to do it.
There's a million
And
ways to get
that's-
to New York.
We're not telling you how to do it.
Yes.
It's a tool in your tool belt and use it how you see fit.
Yep.
We can make recommendations on
Mhm.
best use and best practice and how we think, it might best be used in your operation or what you're doing at home. But at the end of the day, yeah, play around with it.
Yeah.
Test it.
Yeah, we love
Test it.
that. Like it's when somebody hits me up and they're like, "Hey, will it work for this?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'll just send you one. You do what you're going to do with it and let me know if it worked for that so that I can tell other people,
It makes such a big difference when such a quality product is so versatile, man. And then to be able to control your environment. We talk about that so much on this. We talk about that in cultivation. We talk about that with children. We talk about that with even your home life, controlling it's no different. It's literally no different. So I absolutely love the product, man. I'm going to continue using it. If you're out there and we're going to actually put a pound inside this one on Off the Mic.
Sweet.
I have some flour behind the scenes. Hopefully we don't get age restricted, but we'll put some flour in one of these and I want to be able to show them on Off the Mic, which is only on FSOTD.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll show them what it looks like and we'll get some more shots.
Cool.
Josh, our camera guy, will get some shots of it. So we can kind of show these off and show the gasket up close. We can really show the quality and integrity. And I mean, even just this, what's crazy, bro? The first thing I would think that would get broke after 7 years of me using these, especially clamping the shit out of these, and I'm throwing them in. Cause like once the flour's protected in here, you can kind of just stack them up.
Yeah.
I would think that my hinge would get broke.
Yeah.
The quality of these hinges is so serious that like all these Cvaults around me, I have yet to have one with a broken hinge.
That's
And
awesome.
I won't lie, like it happens very, very rarely, like so rarely that it's not an issue that we even talk about. But with anything that's made in a factory, sometimes a weld isn't done properly. And then you just let me know, hit me up, and I'll replace it. Like it's not an issue because it doesn't ever happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can drop them, you can dent them. They're still going to work the same, even if it's dented.
I got one or two of those.
Yeah, of course. And one
Boing,
thing,
boing, boing.
one thing that I think is a really cool part about our product is like if you drop it on the latch, right? Sometimes what happens is like that's a 90-degree angle basically right there. And over years of use, it's metal, so it bends. So that angle will open up. People will say, "Hey, my latch is loose. Is there any way to fix this?" Grab a pair of pliers, bend it back down to 90 degrees. It's brand new again. And there's very few products that are made to be fixable these days. Most products are made to break so that you have to replace it.
Yeah.
But not ours,
Oh, dude, big corporations, they would have made this out of plastic, this piece, so that you had to buy extra clips
every 3
year.
years, it just would break off.
They're replaceable. And you're like, what's that mean? Replaceable? That means it's just not built well.
I want them forever.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. And it's such a cool product. Are these, when are these coming out?
These are out.
They're
They came
out
out
now.
like a week and a half ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
And so those are on Cvault's website? Or
Those
where?
are on Boveda's website, which is Cvault's website. Boveda's where they're our person. So just hit, and also on Amazon. We got them on Amazon too. Those are the only two
That's
places to
sick.
find these. We're limited releasing them. There's only like 1,000 of each color that will come out, and then once they're gone, they're gone. And then we'll go back to the drawing board, come out with some new colors.
I love it, man. I love the customization and just the thought process between both products. Like,
Thanks. Really appreciate that.
How do you not trust a product that's storing more expensive products than cannabis, right? It's like, we need more of that. We need more care and attention to detail coming from companies entering the space or in the space to bring that expertise to what we're doing. Don't just come in to make a buck.
Right.
Like, hey, we've done the trials. You did the testing. We did side-by-sides. We hear what people are saying. So then we went back to the drawing board and retested, retrialed, and it's like, that's what you have to do as a consumer too,
Yeah.
is you have to do your own R&D to figure out like, no, I like my rolls stored in one of these. And then me personally, even the plastic bin that I put these in, I've thought about that.
Yeah.
And I bring one, when I go pick up flour from a buddy, I'll bring my own bin And he's like,
You're the only person that's showing up like
what
that.
thin is this, bro? Where'd you get this? And I'm like, pretty nice. And I'm like, look at the gasket. And I'm showing him how thick then I'm like, look. And when I lock this thing down,
You see
when I
it, like,
open
go
it,
down, yeah.
I can smell the flower release. So I'm like, oh, this thing's locking. Even inside of this, inside of everything, I still use a bin that I fuck with.
Yeah.
That I'm like, this is perfect
Right.
for this. You got to really just think about stuff like that and
Take care of it.
the attention to detail.
Yeah, exactly.
That's perfect for this and perfect for Boveda. Honestly, I mean, cigar storage, it makes so much sense. You got to keep the oils there. Like, yeah, if you dry that cigar out, I'm sure there's an oil release where it smells, you're going to smell the off gassing.
Well, and the construction of it, they crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's not smokable or enjoyable. So, yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
It's honestly been a pleasure having you guys
It's
on.
been
really fun.
I really
Super
appreciate you
fun.
having us, man. This has been great.
I've been using the product for as long as I found it and I can remember. And then it was just about, okay, every Christmas or whenever a code would come up for a discount, I'd be like, we should buy like $1,000. When I'm talking to my business partner, I'm like $1,200 worth of Cvault. What? Yeah.
And I mean, like that says a lot that you were, willing to wait on that and to pay basically full price. Like, it's not like I was like, yo, dude, here's a bunch of free product. Like it was just serendipitous that you used the product and that we're here today. Like that's, two great things coming together.
We got the Tower of Cvault behind.
Yeah,
right now for everyone watching on YouTube. We literally, and I have more of these. There's some underneath the table. Like, no, great product, man, and built to last, which is rare. Scalable, another rare quality, and honestly, just fucking quality, dude. Like, it would have been a nightmare trying to bring glass jars here.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Oh,
and then to be able to buy these, and then every time I buy one, it comes with a Boveda. And then I literally have a secondary bag where I have all my Bovedas so that no matter what
that's
my
what I was
use
gonna
case
say.
is,
Yeah.
I go, the smaller one.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it into
the
an
big
airtight
one.
container and use it as you need it.
There you go.
Dude, the bins right now, I got 2 to 3 of the big ones in the bin, and then everything inside of that has nothing in.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing this game of like, well, that's bin's like a mini room.
That's your lung room.
Yes.
That's your lung room,
So I love the product. Check them out. Boveda, you got to get Cvaults, and it's first smoke of the day approved. It really is. That's all we use for rolls, flour, everything. If you want to protect your terps, if you want to protect your flour, if you want to showcase your product the best it can be showcased, if you don't want to crush your heads of your trichomes, if you don't want mangled flour, I mean, Cvault all day.
Yeah.
Boveda.
Much appreciated.
First smoke approved. Roll up. Let us know what you think in the comments. Peace.
First Smoke family, if you want more video, unreleased content, stuff we can't put on YouTube, you want early drops, weeks and weeks in advance, FSOTD.com gets you all that. You become part of the family, you get hooked up with early content, you get unreleased content we can't put out on YouTube because we get age restricted and we get strikes, the whole deal. FSOTD.com gets you hooked up like family. But if you just want to keep watching, here we go. Let's let another one roll.